Can you talk about? I think you guys ranked near the bottom of the FBS in returns and all that, with Jay Shun and LeRae being out or gone. How are special teams going to be improved this year, where you could, a good return gives your offense better field position and coverage?
And you're making great points that I actually sometimes I'm struggling with. We actually have talked about this. First of all, I think you need to be very, very good in your kicking and cover unit. And with Oaks, Del Grosso, and with Toth coming back, I think the key thing to me of our special teams actually is our snapper. And because Matt Dooley was very, very good. And so that's my biggest concern, is to have a snapper. And I always start special teams with cover units. And, for example, I was, laughing a couple years ago. How could we, I think we were either first and second in scoring 2 years ago. So that means we kicked off a bunch, more than anybody else. And our defense was horrible, yet we led the league in kickoff coverage. Well, that ain't always the kicker. It's the guys running. So we actually got some athletes here running. So I've always started kicking where it's more about cover units than the first play of offense. Because in this day and age of the spread punting, it's very, very difficult to get as many blocks as you used to get. And actually, because of coverage, it's actually hard to get a lot of returns. So you look at, hey, how many punts did I have last year? How many returnable punts did you get? And in this day and age of the kickoff, how many returnable kickoffs? Like we tell a guy, if you're more than 1 yard deep, you got to run 27 yards. You can take a knee. You got to run 27 to get where I can get if you just take a knee. So with the kicking deal, it's almost like, and as an offensive guy, it's always about returns. Well, I'm coming to that. I said, I almost feel like we go 50-50 with cover and returns. I almost feel like we need to talk to people. Maybe we're spending too much time on returns, because how many returnable punts do you get in a game? And first of all, we got to get some stops. Okay, two now. You with me?
Yep.
And in the kickoff game, hey, they can score touchdowns. You can say, hey, you get kickoffs, but man, if half of those are touchbacks, so I'm not saying I'm minimizing it. I really felt that Now, I will say this. I think your units pick up the better athletes you have. And I think a part of playing better defense is better athletes. I think a part of better special teams is better athletes. It's kind of hard when you don't have the talent if you're fast enough to stay on a block or make a block kick or have a good returner. So we'll have some returning guys. Camion Patrick was dynamic. Isaac James is pretty gifted at it. We'll have a number of guys that can be pretty good catching and being return game. But I've pondered your question to myself of appropriation of time, because I don't know if you get as much returns as you would want to think you would get for what it's worth.
Right. My microcosm was Ohio State last year. Their punter, an unbelievable punt, and downed it at the 1 yard line. And it essentially turned the game in. You ended up punting. They returned it for a touchdown. So how is the punting? Toth is good at doing sideline kicks and Koff cornering it. What's the next step from going from inside the 20 to maybe starting to pin guys inside the 15, inside the 10?
Well, one, it's his skill to do it, but two, it's the guys covering. And the better the athlete, the more speed you've got coming down, and you have a chance to do that. So to me, it's again, same deal with cover units. That's why I actually think we've been close to getting there athletically, defensively, the way we were covering kickoffs. So it's not just, Eric has to place the kick, but you have to have guys that can get there. At the same time, too, I'm a guy in this day and age that sometimes I minimize that, because if you talk to Sudfeld about our offense, he's going to be talking about, he knows second and third down when we cross midfield what we're thinking. Because if you can get me fourth and manageable, I don't know I don't like fourth and 15, but fourth and 2 or 3 on the 42 or 38, we're only talking a 1 first down. If you punt it in there, you can have this great guy always pinning it. But at the end of the day, I think the reason Ohio State did that is we had not done much on offense. I think they thought they could pin us down and get it right back. And that's what they did. We actually did that at Penn State 2 years ago in our victory over Penn State, where Eric actually back-to-back had 2 punts inside the 5. So great job by their punter. I think Eric's going to do well. But I think it's those cover guys as much as anything.
Are you going to use starters on those cover teams?
We always have.
Best athletes?
Yeah, we always have. Now there's a dimension. I try to get it where you're not on 2 teams, and we've always done it where covered teams trump return teams. Unless you're the guy catching the kick. Guys covering kicks are more critical because again, I don't think the return opportunities are as much as but when you're covering, there's always a threat of cover. You better have your best 10 guys covering kickoffs. We'll have a lot of starters, linebackers, safeties, receivers on kicks and on punting. There'll be a lot of starters.
Thanks, Coach.